Hey, welcome guys to the first and to my knowledge virtual talk between supporters from Rangers Football Club and HSV. In this little tonight show, we would like to talk, amongst other things, about personal connections between the supporters involved in this video call. How do the guys get involved with the HSV Rangers scene, development of the supporters' friendship, and many more. But before we're getting started, I would like to introduce myself. My name is André Fischer. I'm a lifetime HSV supporter and employee at HSV in the department of fan culture. And I'm really excited about this tonight because I know for a fact that some of my football buddies who are out there and they're down with the Rangers for like decades ask themselves what I am doing here tonight, and they're absolutely right. Because everything I know from this is from the HSV Bible, Kinder der Westkurve, kids of the Western Stance. Maybe you heard about that. It's it's our Bible if you want it like this. So it's just theoretical. And I'm aware of the basic knowledge when it comes to the HSV Rangers friendship, which is the reason why we invited guests tonight who are well known on both sides. And I am really happy to learn from you guys tonight. And now I'd like to introduce our guests and by letting them speak for themselves. From Scotland, connected with us via Zoom, we have first Iain McDonald and Graeme Hannah. I'm very happy that you're with us tonight, guys, and had the chance to get to know you. Please, especially for our German listeners, let us know who you are and what is your history with the Rangers first. Iain, would you like to start?
Yeah, no problem. How you doing? So, as you know, my name's Iain McDonald. Been a Rangers fan, like yourself, André, from the beginning. My father, a strong Rangers background, growing up in East End of Glasgow. My involvement in the Rangers support has been a season ticket ever since I can remember. And involvement with various supporters clubs and fan groups throughout the years, probably not so much in recent years with new family and stuff, but I still go to all the matches pretty much, home and away as much as I can.
Thank you very much so far. Graeme, let us know who you are and what's up with the Rangers and you.
Yes, no problem, André. So my name's Graeme. As you know, I'm 33. I'm actually from Belfast, but that just brings another connection to the relationship. Most of the HSV fans, will be familiar with Mein Hamburg, Liebig and the reference to Belfast. But my first visit to Ibrox was when my dad took me as a 4-year-old. So as a teenager, and ever since, my regular journey every other Saturday has been the ferry from Belfast to Scotland, and then the journey from Stranraer to Glasgow. In between, I've lived in Glasgow for a while. I'm very much interested and passionate about fan culture. It was through the Blue Order fan group that I, first got to know Iain. Iain and some other guys, then formed the Union Bears. And it was, in that scene then that my exposure to HSV and to the city of Hamburg, that is where it started. So yeah, I'm a passionate Rangers fan, quite interested in fan culture. And the rest history.
Yeah, thank you very much, Graeme. And yeah, now in the blue, white, and black corner, we have Timo Horn and Dirk Mansen. And yeah, let us know, what's your story with the HSV? Let's start with Dirk.
Yeah, thanks. Hello all together. My name is Dirk Mansen. My first game with Hamburg was in 1971, actually. I was 7, and my dad and my uncle took me to the old Volkspark Stadium, and a couple of years later, in 1977, I bought my first season ticket, and until today, I'm following, if possible, home and away. And I hope we'll be back in business soon. So I'm really crossing my fingers that we will be going up at the end of the season.
Yeah, thank you, Dirk. Yeah, now let's get to the point. How did you guys from Scotland got to get in? Oh no, I nearly forgot, Timo. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. It's because the screen just split up, and I'm sorry. Out of sight, out of mind. No, it's not like Timo. Excuse me.
No problem. Yeah, moin to everybody. Yeah, I'm a Hamburg supporter my whole lifetime. First visit in the stadium was with 3 years, 1981. And yeah, going to home and away games, yeah, since ever, away games since more than 25 years now, and home games, yeah, since I'm a kid. And yeah, actually can't wait to go to the stadium again. Hopefully it's soon we can get back to the stadiums. So I make it short for you, André, that you can follow on.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, okay. Yeah, let's get to the point. My little introduction when it comes to the personal connection between the supporters in this video chat. So how do you know each other? How do you get to know each other? And you can speak freely.
I would say I got to know Timo and Dirk through one common friend, and Jon von Ahn. That was probably how it mostly started. Being introduced to both of them, having had an interest prior to that with Hamburg for many years. Jorn was probably the main connection with these guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, my first connection to Rangers was also if I was a kid. So I saw a report about the Old Firm Derby in a kids magazine. So, and yeah, my first visit at Ibrox was 2005, and I think that was the year I also know Iain from. So it's around 16 years now. So we become friends and visit each other, yeah, as soon as we can. So my
first connection with Hamburg was actually in 1996.
So the UEFA Cup game.
Yeah, because so I basically where I grew up as a kid, I grew up next to Celtic Park, so the stadium. So I grew up there all my life. Not anymore, but when I was there for the first 20 years of my life, growing right like next to the stadium, and at that point I never really knew much about Hamburg. We'd obviously signed Alberts, but there was no real. I never really thought much of them. There was many players that we signed, and we never thought much of the team that they came from. But what happened is I was a kid playing football, and some Hamburg fans actually wanted to play football with us, and that was I took a little bit of an interest. And then when I actually went home for my dinner, there was Scotland Today was on. It's a news channel, and they actually showed a video of the Hamburg fans in the Loudon, and it was on the news, and I was watching it, and I was like, what the hell, why are they showing this? And all the Hamburg fans were singing "We Love You Rangers" on STV. I was like, what the hell, I was a kid at the time, I'm like, what's going on? And then it was from that point I started to get an interest, and then years later I actually contacted some of the guys from the Chosen Few, because I was browsing the internet and I'd seen a photo of the fan house, and of the fan house, there was all these. You'll remember how it used to be, Dirk and Timo. It used to have all the pennants and the scarves up in the walls in the fan house. And there was a pennant, and it was a Rangers one, but it was a Tam Forsyth pennant, and it said Big Tam on it. It had a photo of Tam Forsyth on it, and I was like, "What the hell is that?" And I'd emailed them, and it was actually Philip who emailed me back from the Chosen Few, and he said, "I was like, is that Tam Forsyth?" And he went, "Yeah, yeah." And he's like, "Lots of us are in Rangers," and I was like, "What are you talking about?" And then from that point, it was the next thing I knew is Philip's like, "Oh, I've got a friend coming over. Can you get him a ticket?" And it was Jorn, and Jorn came over for the match, and then I went over. What was my first time over? So Amy was born 2006 was the first time I went to Hamburg, because Amy was just born. Amy was a February 2006 for Borussia Dortmund.
Right.
That was the first time, and I think I met you there, Dirk, that time, because I'd went to McLean's bar.
Yeah.
And we'd met, and you guys had all the meeting in McLean's bar, and then I went to the stadium for the museum, and I met yourself again.
Oh yeah.
Dirk, your pretty face was just up, and I think you wanted to say something. So sorry that I interrupted you.
Yeah, my first encounter with Rangers was actually in London, where I was in contact in the early 80s with some Chelsea fans, and they used to go to Glasgow. So I joined them somewhere in 84 or 85 at home to Hearts, I think. Can't remember the result, but the day was really, really good. And a couple of years later, early 90s, I met some guys from Belfast. And they were Rangers fans, and I met them after a home game in Hamburg. They used to work in Germany, so we stayed in contact. And then I followed Rangers to some league games. One was when they were champions away at Hearts once, and some other games and European Cup games. So I met more and more people, and we stayed in contact. And yeah, that's why we are here.
Yeah, now I'd like to know, Graeme, I just know that you're a sports journalist. So what's your story with the HSV?
So my first exposure to HSV fan base and, getting a feeling for the club was back in, I think it was 2008, when Hamburg came to Glasgow to play Celtic. With the guys in the Glaswegian, Hamburg Loyal, although I didn't know them, and this is the beauty of the Rangers-Hamburg friendship. Obviously, I know Iain. I haven't properly met Timo or Dirk, but we all in some way have mutual friends or a connection between us. But in 2008, I got a ticket for the game, and I joined the massive crowd of Hamburg and some Rangers fans on the fan march from the Glaswegian bar through to Parkhead for the game. Thankfully, Marcus Berg got the winner that night, but I was just impressed with the collective and everything that I saw, the chants, the noise, the colours inside the stadium that night. But a few years later, it was 2012. Now a very close friend, Marco Verderhausen, who Iain and Timo, who they know well, he was visiting Glasgow. That was my first introduction to him. From there, we hit it off, a good friendship. Now I've got quite a few friends in Hamburg. And like I said, through Iain and some others, I got to know Jorn. I've had drinks with him in Hamburg. And from one trip to another, there are small groups of personal friendships on both sides, but you get to know someone else and you get to put a face to a name, and the circle grows. So within the friendship, there are lots of smaller networks and friendships that makes up what it is.
Yeah. Thank you, Graeme. And Timo, you already gave us a little inside view, but we'd like to know more. How does this feeling for the Rangers grew with you?
It's I can't say it grew. I can say it exploded at the first visit at Ibrox. So I went to Ibrox. I was in the legendary Clacken bar before. So I think that was one of the last times the bar exists. So, but before at the Clacken bar, after that in the Loudon, and between that at Ibrox, it was a day I can't describe. So it was fantastic all over the day. So met so many people. Yeah, had a good game. It was a result like I think a 1-1 versus Dundee United or something like that. So a game. So I already know from Hamburg, so it's like similar. And yeah, it was a great day. And I was there with my friend Lasse. He knows him well also. And yeah, from that day on, for me it was clear to come back again and to meet as many people I can. So and. Yeah, then I think 2006 or 2007, there was a Rangers game in Hanover. I think it was 2007, a Rangers friendly in Hanover.
Yeah.
And there was a bus from the Hamburg Loyal and the Glaswegian Loyal, from the Glaswegian bar. And I was with them, went to go to the Hanover game. And yeah, I became a member of the Hamburg Loyal Supporters Club. And I think just 1 year later, 2008, the UEFA Cup game in Bremen and with the Rangers. So I got a ticket and went to that game. So yeah, it grew very, very fast. So.
Thank you, Timo. So we already learned about your first encounters with the other club. What would you say? Let us know a little bit about the development of this special friendship. Well, you know, all I know is that it started in the mid 70s with some guys from the Rothosen. And how did it get to the 80s and 90s? Maybe you can give us a little time travel throughout the decades. Yeah, feel free to speak.
Robert started writing about Rangers in Hamburg. He was staying in Hamburg, so he started writing about these kind of things. So I think he kind of got a lot of it going. But I was still young at that time, so I don't really remember reading much of Robert's fanzine. And I tried to do some of that in the early 2000s by writing articles for Follow about my trips over, and a lot of people started asking questions about, oh, how do I get tickets? And I would put them in contact with guys like Dirk. Say, can you get them tickets for me? Well, it was interesting to meet the guys. Like, I was talking about the fan house, and I remember sitting in the fan house, and there was the scarf above the door, and it says Mike supports Rangers, and I was like, who the hell's Mike? And then I got introduced to Mike and Kai, who were the original guys starting the Hamburg Loyal in the 70s, and it was great to meet these guys and hear their stories of how they started supporting Rangers. Just something so simple as I think it was Mike that shared the story of him getting the money from the Rangers fans when they played to get him the bus to the stadium. So he started, and it was interesting. But I just remember sitting and having a beer in the fan house, going, "Who the hell is Mike?" And it was his gran knitted him the scarf, wasn't it? because it says it on it 3 times. Mike supports Rangers. Mike supports Rangers. And I was like, who's this guy? And they're like, that's Mike there. But I think I've no doubt that the whole Celtic St. Pauli thing as well kind of stoked the fire, and then Albert's coming kind of helped it grow again amongst the Rangers support, certainly. But I knew when I was growing up, there wasn't. I never knew anything about really Hamburg, and then I remember going, as I said, going to McLean's Bar, and the guy that owned McLean's Bar, he was actually he grew up not that far from where I grew up. He grew up in Denniston, and he's owning this bar in Altena, and I'm like, how did this happen? But yeah, he was a good guy, and then I met all these guys, so they were probably keeping it going longer than a lot of the Ranger support was. But guys like Big Sam and all that, they were in it a lot longer than I was, and then Robert. So those guys kind of kept it, especially in the 90s. They were probably the guys that kept it going.
I would say, as well as that, Iain, we're arguably now in the sort of 3rd generation of the friendship.
Yeah.
A lot of that you've just mentioned, was pretty much the start. Certainly, as far as I'm aware, you were one of very few guys, that was beating the drum, kind of 15 years ago. But in Belfast, Dirk's probably aware, in the Barrington Street Rangers Supporters Club, which is also a Linfield social club. On the ceiling, there's a massive router. So there's that link to Belfast. My first visit to the Volkspark Stadion was the last game of the season in 2013. So that's around 7-8 years ago. And, nowadays with social media and Twitter, there's lots of things going on, but as well as that, Rangers and HSV, the biggest, best supported and most successful clubs, in Glasgow and Hamburg. In Hamburg, there are some British cultural influences. You had the Beatles, you of course had Kevin Keegan. So there is that link to the UK. There's a shipbuilding heritage in Hamburg, in Glasgow, as well as Belfast, if you like. So there are a lot of common themes. The people are hardworking, honest. They like the football, a lot like to have a drink and to socialise. So there's lots going on, and yeah. For me, it's something that I'm very much interested in. But for me, 2 things particularly tie the clubs, as well as their similar colours, which helps. It is loyalty and tradition. Rangers, have for a long time been the Traditionsverein in the eyes of many Germans. The Rangers support, has had a lot of good trips to Germany over the years. As Dirk and others have mentioned, and Timo as well, there's a Hamburg contingent at every Rangers European away game. But look where we both have been in the last few seasons. Rangers have had a full Ibrox Stadium in the 3rd division in Scotland. Over the last 2 or 3 years, the HSV fans, have stayed loyal because that's who they are in the Zweite Bundesliga, and hopefully this is the year, for both of us, 55 for us, and a return to the big league for you guys in Hamburg.
Hopefully, yeah, that's what it's all about. I was just thinking about loyalty. We always had a big following, whatever happened, and it happened quite a lot over here. But people are still going. You can rely on everybody that he will come back when everything opens again. But I had some similar things with people from Glasgow. We had it's a short story about one of our friends, gang of the early 80s. He disappeared. Nobody knows where he was. And one of my mates, he was in Spain on holiday, and he saw him somewhere lying drunken at the beach in Benidorm 25 years after he disappeared. And so he had no passport, no papers, no money, no telephone, nothing. And he had to get back the next day. So he bought a telephone, gave it to him, said, "We stay in contact, we will help you." And so when he was back, he said, "Okay, what can we do?" And so people phoned some Rangers fans living down there, and they organized everything for him, including a trip to the German embassy, new papers, a flight back was paid from Hamburg. And so everybody was working together, and that was fantastic. So you can rely on people. People are very loyal, and if they say something, it will happen. So that's really, really good. I like that.
Yeah. I will say I've disappeared a few times like that in Hamburg. I've disappeared a few times like that in Hamburg as well.
Yeah. I remember.
But Iain not. Iain don't remember.
You know, what comes to my mind is that it's not that usual that you have two clubs with a big amount of supporters in one and the same city, you know, like St. Pauli and HSV, the Rangers and Celtic. When we're talking about similarities, I think this is something that, you know, is something we can, it makes sense to talk about, you know. So let's talk about from both perspectives, you know, for the Scottish fans who are listening tonight. I think they might be interested in how it is for us, and the other way around. So yeah, if you would like, Graeme, Iain, if you would like to start and tell our listeners in Hamburg in Germany a little about how it is to live with your rival next door.
Well, I lived with them right next door. It's just one of these things. It's all I really know. I don't know anything different than having a rival football team in your city, so I'm not too sure. The Glasgow rivalry is known the world over for many, many reasons, but it's still a healthy rivalry. I wouldn't say I have many friends that are Celtic fans. I've probably got more family members, brother-in-law and stuff that are Celtic fans. It's always good to have a bit of friendly banter with them.
Let the Scottish guys, you know, maybe the listeners, let them know how it is to live with our rival next door.
Yeah, Timo, may I first? Yeah,
Sure.
When I grew up, there wasn't another professional team in Hamburg. Let's sing that St. Pauli drew attendances started in 86, 87, 88, when they were the first time they played Bundesliga, end of the 70s, and no one really cared. Okay, we lost a home game, which was bad that day, but nobody was really interested because they had no support. They had about 1,500 or 2,000 fans at our ground for their away game because they had no support. They had 2,000 average at their home games. That was it. And when they gained promotion in, I think, 87, 88, was it? They started to fill the ground and developed. So for me, when I was young, it was not really a thing which mattered. Nowadays, if we would have a normal situation, things would turn worse and worse and worse and worse because people in front of the derby games or afterwards, they try to hunt each other and attack each other and all that. And that's really going worse from year to year. And I hope it will come back to a normal level sometimes. Winding up, or if there's a small fight, okay, things happen. But what turned up with attacking people at home and all that, that's not good. Shouldn't be a really thing at football games. Makes no sense. I hope that stops. And nowadays I have really some friends of friends or even friends which support St. Pauli. Most of them, to be honest, used to go to Hamburg games when they were younger. Then they stopped for a couple of years. They came back to football. They went to St. Pauli because there's a new thing we can go to, and they have a political intention and all that. It's nothing for me. Let them do what they want. I'm fine with it. Don't worry. Timo.
Yeah, I think the rivalry against St. Pauli isn't as big as Rangers and Celtic due to the history. So actually, yeah, there's a like you told us, Dirk, is a maybe a big problem. So, but I think it's due to the history not as big as a thing in Glasgow, and because most of the times we had no connections to each other due to games. So it's just the last 3 years, second Bundesliga, we played each other, and another thing in 2012. And it's, I think the whole time between 2000 and 2012, so we had a bigger rivalry to the other city 110 kilometers south of us, and not to St. Pauli. And but sure, there's a big rivalry, but yeah, I think it's due to the history not as big as between Rangers and Celtic. So actually, my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. Dirk, we started talking about to take a look at the the decades of this friendship. It started in the 70s, many years before you have cell phones or anything like that. Yeah. Maybe there are some interesting adventurous travels you may tell us about, to get to the game and get away. And I remember that in Kinder der Westkurve there was a trip to Glasgow. I think it was 1996. 3 years after the supporters club was founded. Is there maybe something you want to tell us about?
Oh yeah, that was much more difficult than it's nowadays. Of course, I'm starting in the 80s. I drove to London and other places by car. The weekend started Friday night, or going with they had a regular bus transfer going between London and Hamburg. It was a company offering it for a cheap price for people going to London for shopping weekend. So me and some friends always went on these coaches to London and to see some football. That was how it started. So we went to, I don't know, Wimbledon, to Birmingham, to Ipswich, to wherever. And so you bought a newspaper, a British newspaper, a couple of days before, and watching, okay, who's playing? Oh, we can see this and that. Brilliant, let's go over. Booked the bus, went on to see when you arrive and you need to go to somewhere else. Okay, network Southeast on strike again. That was always the first thing happening. So you go to another game, and you try to get in contact with people asking how you can make it. And that's whenever you went in the 80s or early 90s, and you arrived, you had to organize everything by phone, phoning up friends before, if you had some contacts there, or the supporters club was organizing trips over. We had about, I don't know, 12 or 15 coaches to Glasgow for the Celtic game in '96, and 2 or 3 flights. So that was really hard work. Nowadays, it's 3 minutes on the internet and you got everything you want. That was really that was an adventure. Nowadays, it's just a click. I like the old times.
Timo, from your perspective, are there any special trips to Glasgow back in the day without these, modern things like cell phones and internet? You want to share?
So my first trip was no cell phone, I think, in 2005. But I think the special trips, sorry, but I had a cell phone already. One of the great, amazing trip was 2012 to the last Old Firm at Ibrox, where Rangers won 3-2. And that was my first Old Firm. And I think I will never forget that day. That was great. There were, I think, 50, 60 people from Hamburg. And that was a great trip. And also 2009, the UEFA Cup game with Celtic. We stay a couple of days longer and make a home game versus Hearts, I think, the Saturday after the UEFA Cup game. So we had a 4-day trip in Glasgow, and I need a rehab after that. That was very, very strong. I think the last weekend of the Glaswegian bar, sadly missed the Glaswegian bar. So they're very special trips, but I'm too young to have the good trips without a cell phone, I think.
No, that's not your fault, that's
no.
It's not your fault. Thanks for the insight. Iain, I have a question for you. Let's talk about you and you as a founder of the Union Bears. I would really like to know something about let's call it the ultra wave who hit from Italia, hit Germany, and after the eastern parts of Europe, but in some way it left out the homeland of football. Why, from your perspective, why is that, and what has changed?
I'm not too 100%. I don't know if I'd 100% say that it has changed. What we do is have guys like the Union Bears now who do a great job, and there seems to be a total adverse thing in the UK to the whole standing, which is a real big problem that stops the whole fans' connection with the team and the atmosphere, and that's the biggest thing to try and break down, because in England it's totally ingrained now. It's part of the culture now in England to have this each year. You can watch any match in the English Premier League and you can see how everyone just sits, and the atmosphere isn't that great. In Scotland, it's probably not as bad. We always have the Union Bears who create a lot of atmosphere, and my first connection with that whole thing it was more about the singing and the atmosphere rather than the whole ultra thing. I first started with joining the Blue Order, and that was the main aim of that. And then from that, I started the Union Bears, and it was that more lean towards the whole ultra thing, having grown connections, going to Hamburg with the guys at Chosen Few and stuff, and gain good friendships with them, and going, that's kind of what I wanted, and it kind of grew from that. But I don't know if it will ever be as big in the UK as it is with other countries. The Union Bears do a great job, and some of the displays and everything that they put on is unbelievable. But in terms of the size of the group, it's probably nowhere near some of the other teams that you'll see across Europe.
What I think from my perspective is interesting that back in the 70s, how I understood the beginning of the friendship between HSV and the Rangers was that that first every you know, in Hamburg especially, but you know, in Germany as in general, people look to England, you know, to see like how's the fan culture, you know, the singing, the chorus, the way that they chant, you know. I think that was
no, everything that I've ever learned over the years, that was how the whole ultra thing started in Italy as well. You know, they looked towards England as the masters of football culture, so to speak. And if you look back at how it was in the 60s and the 70s, the fans, especially at places like Liverpool and Manchester United, became a little bit diluted with it. No standing at the stadiums, and that was probably the biggest thing. And then it's interesting that whole thing turned round. Though the Italians take on the English culture disappears. The Italians then make it bigger. The Germans and the French and the Spanish adopt the Italian culture. Now we're looking at the Germans and going, no, we want to adopt that culture. So it's kind of came round in a big circle.
Yeah, thank you. Well, guys, I would like to talk a little bit of the development, maybe the future perspective of the friendship between HSV and Rangers on a, let's say on a corporate level. You know, we know that both of our clubs are going to start to you know, some kind of business relationship with each other, and from a supporter's perspective, are there things some aspirations, some hopes you combine with these new developments in the future?
Yeah, sure. Let's have a game, please.
Yes.
In Glasgow.
Yes.
If possible.
On a weekend in the summer.
Yeah.
Not during the week and in the winter like we did the last time, but
yes.
Yeah.
Saying that,
what I would really like, if there's a possibility to get some ticket contingents for the that we have I don't know 50 tickets each game for friends from Glasgow, and on the other side in Glasgow, like a couple of tickets for guys from Hamburg who want to come over. So that's actually is a big problem for people who want to go over to get a ticket. So, and I think for connecting deeper, that would be a very good thing to that it can grow with if the people have the possibility to go for the game.
Yeah, Timo, that's right. That's where what I wanted to ask. That hopefully we grow deeper connections, and the fans have more opportunities to meet and interact. And this is something you just brought up would get us nearer. From a Scottish perspective, is there anything you would like to see this friendship grow and develop, and things that should get better or deeper?
Yeah, when you go, Graeme.
Sorry, mate. André, a couple of things that sort of I had thought about and noted. It's above my station, but if the clubs can have a sort of business relationship in terms of the football operation, but as well as the business of running football clubs and being the best they can, that would be a good thing. But from a fan perspective, and particularly for the fan culture, with Brexit, for HSV fans in the UK to buy merchandise from the Hamburg club store, it's quite expensive at the moment. Obviously, you guys are still with Adidas. We now have Castor. But if there could be, a section of HSV merchandise in the Rangers shop in Glasgow, that would be a good thing. we are able to watch the games live on BT Sport here in the UK. But I had mentioned on Twitter, on the English HSV page, just an idea about maybe a small package in terms of highlights of games and either a bit of subtitled content or English language content, not just for fans in the UK, but elsewhere in the world. And just for me, I mentioned to Natalie when we spoke on the phone, I would like Rangers to tap in to, the way things work in Hamburg and in Germany, for Rangers and Hamburg, to have an interest in the fan culture, to have a link. Some things they won't be able to get involved with because it will be, for the fans. It won't be in an official capacity, but have a relationship, have links, maybe in the same way the club at the Volkspark has with the supporters club in Hamburg. Have a link and a relationship. There's a strong relationship that is there, in my opinion. Not everything can be sorted quickly, and one thing in the UK won't work in Germany and vice versa. But it's about sort of learning what works, what doesn't, and trying to improve things and just to grow the fan relationship where possible.
Yeah, I fully agree with Graeme. Certainly there's something there with the merchandise. There's quite a lot of unofficial club merchandise going around for both, that connect both of those teams, and they're quite, the fans want them. No, there's an appetite for people who want this merchandise that shows Rangers and Hamburg as a connection, so that if both of the clubs are doing something that connects them, and it would be very successful, in my opinion. Again, as it goes back to what Timo and Dirk are saying about tickets, one of the biggest things, it's not, I don't feel as though it's as big a problem for the Rangers fans going over to Hamburg. We can, a lot of us have got connections that we can go and speak to guys, and we can get a number of tickets, because there's sections within the stadium that allow you to get those one-day match day tickets, and there's maybe not as many of them at Ibrox for the guys coming over from Hamburg, or they're quickly getting sold out. So if there was a way that, whether they get going through official channels, that the Hamburg guys were to go, well, we wish to come over for this game and that game. I know certainly that they would love to come over for a Rangers Celtic match, but these guys are trying to get tickets, and they're coming to guys like myself or Big Sam and Hunter and everything. They're going, and everyone's scrambling to get these tickets, trying to get them. Oh, I've got two from this guy, I've got two from this guy. But if you were to have this section of tickets for the Hamburg fans, no, it's not every single match that they're going to come over for. So to have them there and all together would be brilliant, and for the fans to see within the stadium, because there's still lots of Rangers fans that probably don't know anything about the connection. No.
Yes, of course.
As Dirk says, get a match between the two of them. We'll certainly get one in Glasgow. I would love another one in Hamburg. My dad went over to my dad had never been, he'd been to Hamburg a couple of times, but he'd never been to the football, and he went over for that match. And to this day, he still talks about the soccer dance. Yeah, he still talks about it all the time.
No, that's a nice bridge, because there's one more thing I have on my list. You guys already talked, Dirk and Timo, about the a couple of bars you've been to, and some you badly missed because they don't exist anymore. But this talk, we can't finish this talk without talking about the Tank Stella. Nope. They're going through hard times right now, like wise everybody who's in this business. But I don't know, Iain and Graeme, what is your first time you've been to Hamburg? Have you been in Hamburg, to visit HSV games before there was the Tank Stella? Was it your first? Now, what's your first encounter with the guys?
My first trip to Hamburg, as I said, was 2013. So thankfully, the Tank Stella was part of that experience. I've got my Solly T-shirt. That was a good initiative recently. Ian's got his mug. So through group chats and friendships that the likes of myself and Iain are involved with, it means guys like us can get involved with the Tank Stella merchandise or the Solly T-shirts. But it can't be understated the importance and the purpose that the Tank Stella serves for Rangers fans coming over to Hamburg. If nothing else, it's a meeting place. It's a place, you will be welcomed. Okay, sometimes, there are some guys you would probably rather not bump into in terms of guys just getting drunk. But for meeting up with some other Rangers fans and Hamburg fans, you're treated as a friend. And yeah, I can't say enough about the place in my time that I've been over and my trips.
Yeah, I'm the same. No, Mike always makes us feel very welcome every single time we go over. The usual place for me meeting Timo before the matches is the Tank Stop. That's always the first place. I've even been to matches that I hadn't planned to meet Timo and I still met him at the Tank Stop. But yeah, the pub always makes the Rangers fans feel welcome, whether it's going on with the music and stuff.
We're proud of that. There's so many different people and so many different views, and the only thing that sometimes or many times that is one thing that they bring all together is our club, and this is, I think that's a strong force to bring people together and overcome certain ideas. And this is something I believe. And yeah, this is, but that's a good hint, to build a strong narrative. I think this will help. Yeah, from on my list, I'm all my the things I wrote down for this chat. But we made a check behind it, and I give it to you guys. Is there anything you want to talk about tonight?
Apart from, please let us all meet again as soon as possible. Yeah, it's we have really to think about what are the best channels to spread the news and to get people in contact with each other. So I made a few notes beside it today, and hopefully we can really achieve a real level of support to each other in what we are doing. And I'm sure we will stay in contact, everybody, and as soon as we have news for you, we will all let you know. André, we will speak the next days. So I'm very, very optimistic that we can make a good thing out of it.
Yeah, I can't wait to come back to Hamburg. That was my plans were to come back last year, because I was when I first came to Hamburg, I brought my daughter and she was only a few months old, and now I've got my son. And yeah, the idea was to bring him over to visit Hamburg. But now it so happens that the next time that I'll probably get to come to Hamburg, I'll have 2 new kids. So
congratulations, mate.
I know. So they've got a lot of catching up to do.
thank you guys. It was a pleasure meeting you to get an insight on the different perspectives, especially for me from the Scottish view. And there's one thing in my head. I remember a talk I had with Joachim Eibel. I think you guys are well aware. And I don't know which year it was. I think it was just after the Rangers got relegated. I think was it the 4th division?
Yeah.
And I was impressed of the, for Joachim, who's been a Rangers supporter for a long time. It was totally clear. Yeah, this is a little bump, but we will be back. There's no doubt. And now look at you. You have a strong league. You're gonna go on a way to win the championship, and we're probably back on track as well too. And this is something I have in my head that brings us together in a way.
Yeah, it's been a long journey, but as Joachim rightly said, we'll be back, and we are back, and a lot of bumps on the way, but a lot of that probably goes down to the fan power, and that's the same at Hamburg. And the fans were always there, try to support the team, and now we have the guys that we consider fans in terms of in charge of the club and taking us the right direction that we probably need to be going. And even just having things like this tells me that the right people are at the club and listening, because a few years back we probably never got this whole Rangers Hamburg connection. Probably it would have been totally ignored. So the fact that this thing's actually even happening tells you that it's fans that are driving it.